Welcome to the debate. You know, when we picture the defining moments of football, we almost inevitably conjure this deeply romanticized image. The manager is standing on the touchline, soaking wet in the pouring rain.
Oh, right, pacing around, screaming at the officials.
Exactly. It's the 89th minute, the game is deadlocked, and they make this sudden, instinctual substitution based entirely on, well, a gut feeling. And we celebrate that human intuition, right? It's the stuff of legends. But if you strip away the romance and look at the raw mechanics of human cognition, that screaming manager relying on instinct is actually operating with a massive cognitive bottleneck.
Well, a bottleneck, that's just a simple issue of biology. I mean, a human being can only watch so much of the pitch at one time. They can track the ball, maybe the 3 or 4 players immediately surrounding it, but the peripheral vision, the broader context, is naturally limited. They are, after all, only human.
Right, they are. And that biological limitation is exactly why we are looking at a fundamental shift in how live tactical decisions are made during matches. Today we are examining how predictive analysis and algorithms are completely transforming the dugout. The central question we're tackling is whether these systems will merely enhance the traditional role of the human head coach, or if they are destined to entirely replace it.
And it is a friction point that is thoroughly dividing the sports world right now. We saw this collision of ideologies really clearly at the recent Sport Radar Connect gathering at London Stadium. You had industry data leaders like Niccolò Durcole sitting alongside football veterans like Jamie Carragher and World Cup winner Eric Durm.
Yeah, all trying to navigate this exact technological tipping point.
Right. And you couple those discussions with the ongoing Forecast 2026 research project coming out of Trinity College Dublin, led by Konstantinos Chetsos, and we finally have a wealth of empirical, real-world data to actually dissect.
And looking at the sheer volume of that data, my position is pretty uncompromising. I argue that AI's ability to process real-time, multi-layered data makes it a vastly superior, objective assistant manager that should actively drive live tactical decisions, ultimately superseding flawed human intuition.
And my position is that you simply cannot engineer the human element out of a human game. I argue that while AI provides absolutely incredible contextual data, the highly unpredictable nature of human players under immense pressure means algorithms can only ever serve as a supporting tool for the head coach, never a full replacement.
Well, to understand why the math really demands a paradigm shift, we have to explain what modern analysis actually looks like now. We have moved entirely past the era of viewing statistics as just, shots on target or possession percentages.
Oh, way past that.
Yeah. Modern AI models are processing over 1,000 distinct data points per match simultaneously. We are talking about skeletal tracking operating at 60 frames per second.
Which is a staggering amount of processing power. There's no arguing that.
Right. And to be clear on what that means, the algorithm isn't just watching a player run. It is actively measuring the exact distance between a player's knee and ankle joints 60 times every single second, just to calculate stride length, biomechanical exertion, and micro-fatigue.
Which a human eye obviously can't do.
Not a chance. So during a live match, an AI can spot incredibly complex nonlinear patterns that a human simply cannot. By measuring the average distance between the opposition's defensive line and our midfield, the AI recognizes when the gap shrinks by even half a meter.
A microscopic change.
Exactly. A change the human eye completely misses. It detects exactly how a specific midfielder's absence or even subtle fatigue is shifting the opponent's pressing style in real time. I mean, think of it like a chess supercomputer. It doesn't just see the pieces on the pitch. It runs 10,000 simulations of the next 5 minutes based on that half-meter shift.
Okay, but
So why on earth would we rely on a coach's gut feeling when the math can show us the exact tactical adjustment required to exploit that specific gap?
Because you're assuming the pitch is a chessboard, and it isn't. Look, the capabilities of the
Universes are born and die at the snap of his fingers of shadow. The multiverse is nothing but dust, molded by his sovereign will. Beneath his titanic silhouette, subverses collapse, and entire realities bow to the true and absolute ruler of the cosmos. For the creature that holds the infinite in the palm of its hand, eternity itself is merely a fleeting breath. Colossal dimensions are mere toys in the immensity of his domain. He does not merely observe existence, he possesses it completely. Available now on Amazon Books.
And it isn't. Look, the capabilities of the technology are vast. Platforms like SportBot AI are indeed running 10,000 plus simulations per day, per league. They model the weather, the lineup tweaks, the historical tactical wrinkles.
They model everything.
But they do. But I point directly to Nicolo Durkel's reality check at that SportRider event. He noted that while the football industry is overwhelmingly positive about adopting AI, it will never replace the manager. Because players are fundamentally unpredictable, they react differently to pressure, the game is not played in a vacuum, and human beings are not static variables in an equation.
I mean, they are variables, though.
But not static ones. Look at the early findings from the Forecast 2026 World Cup data to prove this limitation. As the tournament progressed, the AI predictions actually became less accurate against the betting market baseline. That is a crucial piece of empirical evidence.
Wait, but
Let me finish. It proves that real-world tournament chaos, the compounding stakes, and human emotion are incredibly difficult to perfectly model, no matter how many frames per second you are tracking.
okay, if you want to talk about real-world chaos, let's look at how these systems actually operate on the touchline during a live match. Because theoretical capability only matters if it changes the outcome on the pitch. I believe AI should be dictating live substitutions and tactical switches based purely on objective probability models, rather than, human reaction.
Dictating? Not just suggesting?
Dictating, absolutely. For example, an AI can calculate exactly how many times out of 100 a certain player will score from a 25-yard free kick, factoring in the wind speed, the height of the specific wall, and the goalkeeper's historical dive tendencies. Or consider unexpected injury scenarios.
Which happen in almost every major match.
Exactly. If a team suddenly loses a star striker, say, someone with the specific physical profile of an Erling Haaland, a human manager naturally feels panic. They might overcompensate emotionally, bringing on a defender to hold a lead, or throwing on a completely incompatible forward out of desperation.
They adapt.
They panic. The AI doesn't panic. It immediately scans its database, downgrades the team's win rate based on over 500 past cases of a missing striker with that exact profile, and outputs the optimized tactical adjustment to mitigate that specific statistical deficit. It removes the narrative bias and the emotional panic from crucial in-game decisions.
You are entirely discounting the intangible human essence that the data simply cannot capture. A human head coach possesses a deep psychological understanding of their squad. A coach knows which specific player thrives under the intense, must-win psychological pressure of the 89th minute.
But does that?
They know who is carrying a personal grievance against an opposing center back, who is motivated by the hostile crowd, and who is actively shrinking away from the moment. Those are incredibly nuanced psychological states. You can run 500 historical cases of missing strikers, but none of those 500 cases perfectly encapsulate the unique emotional state of the 11 specific players currently standing on the grass.
Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, well, a machine doesn't know what it feels like to play in a cup final, you're right. But it does know how players behave in one. The modern AI models absolutely factor in psychological elements like must-win pressure into their thousands of data points.
To a degree.
No, heavily. They aren't ignoring context, they are digitizing it. The models evaluate how teams and individual physical profiles have historically reacted to exact high-pressure scenarios, down to their passing accuracy in the final 10 minutes of knockout games. So I really want to linger on this point. If the machine is already quantifying pressure objectively and weighing its historical impact, isn't a coach's so-called intuition just a wildly flawed, emotionally compromised algorithm?
An emotionally compromised algorithm? Really?
Yes, because the human coach is running the exact same calculation in their head. How will my player react to this pressure? But they are doing it with infinitely less data, relying on flawed memory and suffering from a massive susceptibility to recency bias.
That is quite the claim.
The coach remembers the goal the player scored last week, while the AI remembers the player's performance in the last 50 high-pressure matches.
You are assuming that digitizing pressure accurately models the reality of it, and the data simply does not back up your claim. Let's look at the actual performance data from the Forecast 2026 project, which Konstantinos Tsetsos purposely designed as a 104-match natural laboratory.
Right, the World Cup study.
Yes. This project specifically set out to test decision-making outside the pristine conditions of a lab in the highly emotional, chaotic environment of a World Cup. And what did they find? The current top forecaster isn't an AI model running 10,000 simulations. It's a human being. Specifically, a participant going by the name Copacabana Kickabout Fan with a plus 579 score.
Okay, we should probably clarify for the audience what that score actually means.
Right, of course. The score represents a simulated financial return against the Vegas bookmakers' odds. A positive score means you are beating the house and finding value where the traditional odds makers missed it. Copacabana Kickabout Fan was wildly successful at this.
Sure, but
And furthermore, look at the boldest, most contrarian calls of the tournament. The Qatar-Switzerland draw in the first round. Both the human crowd and the AI models predicted that outcome, flying entirely in the face of the traditional betting market. Tsetsos himself points out that this suggests humans and AI are both picking up on crucial variables that strict, traditional statistical models miss.
I mean, maybe.
Human intuition is still finding signal in the noise. The human brain recognizes patterns of momentum and morale that a skeletal tracker just cannot quantify.
Yes, humans and AI both caught the Qatar-Switzerland draw. But if we want to talk about finding signal in the noise, let's zoom out and look at the broader averages from that exact same Trinity College study. Because when you look at the aggregate data, the human flaws are glaringly exposed. Across the board, the AI agents are vastly outperforming the human crowd. We're talking about AI averaging a minus 158-point score against the betting baseline.
Which is still a negative score, meaning the AI is still losing to the Vegas odds.
Losing slightly, yes. A minus 158 is a highly competitive, tight margin against the sharpest betting markets in the world. But the human crowd is languishing down at minus 725 points. They are getting crushed.
Well, they're amateurs.
Why are they getting crushed, though? Because the human crowd is incredibly susceptible to narrative and hype. The study explicitly noted how humans wildly overpredicted the likelihood that the Caribbean minnows, Curacao, wouldn't be beaten by Ivory Coast. People fell in love with the underdog story.
Right, the romance of it.
Exactly, they wanted the romance. The machine didn't care about the romance. The machine saw a 3-time Africa Cup of Nations champion, analyzed the exact tactical mismatch on the flanks, and ran the math. It remained objective while the humans were blinded by the narrative.
Okay, the humans fell for a narrative in one specific instance. But you cannot ignore the broader trend of the tournament, which is that the machine degraded in accuracy over time. The Forecast 2026 data shows both human and AI predictions becoming less accurate as the World Cup progressed.
Because the markets got sharper.
Because as stakes rise in knockout football, yes, the market baseline becomes sharper, absolutely. But also because chaos inherently increases. Teams start playing players out of position due to suspensions. Managers implement desperate, completely novel tactics to save their jobs. The structural norms of a football match completely break down. And when structure breaks down, historical data becomes a massive liability.
Look, you brought up Copacabana Kickabout Fan earlier, and I think this highlights the exact problem with relying on human structure. If you have thousands of humans guessing on matches, sheer variance dictates that one of them is bound to hit a hot streak. Copacabana Kickabout Fan is the literal exception that proves the rule.
I wouldn't say that.
The problem is scalability. You cannot scale Copacabana Kickabout Fan and put him in the dugout of every Premier League club. But in AI, when an AI can adapt within minutes to a late line of change, instantly recalculating the opponent's expected goals, which is essentially the mathematical probability of a shot resulting in a goal, and outputting a tactical countermeasure, it provides a scalable, consistent edge.
But is it a winning edge in chaos?
It is an edge the average human coach simply cannot replicate reliably over a 38-game season. The AI doesn't get physically tired. It doesn't get distracted by the press conference it has to give in an hour, or, the argument it just had with the club's sporting director.
It doesn't get distracted, no, but it also doesn't inspire. And that brings us directly to what this technological shift means for the future structure and hierarchy of football clubs, which Niccolò Di Ercole touched on extensively in London. If we accept that AI has this immense, unblinking analytical capability, how does it actually fit into the day-to-day reality of a football club?
Well, it democratizes the sport by flattening the managerial hierarchy. Smaller and medium-sized clubs are utilizing AI to, as De Colpa puts it, punch above their weight and level the playing field against teams with massive financial resources.
That part is true.
The future conversation in football won't just be about whether you have the most charismatic manager or the most expensive players. It will be about having the best technology acting as a centralized additional assistant manager. We are rapidly moving toward a future where the AI suggests the proactive game strategies, dictates the substitutions based on micro-fatigue, and the human head coach essentially becomes a middle manager.
A middle manager?
Yes. Their primary job will just be to translate the AI's complex instructions into human language and deliver it with a pat on the back.
Okay, I agree entirely that AI is a cost-effective equalizer for smaller clubs. It is brilliant at centralizing scouting, optimizing workload management, and providing baseline in-game analysis. But to reduce the human head coach to a middle manager is a fundamental misunderstanding of leadership in high-stakes environments.
How so?
Jamie Carragher made a vital point at the Sport Radar Connect session regarding this. He emphasized that AI provides incredible data-driven storytelling. It gives managers a depth of context that simply wasn't available when he was playing. But it is an enhancement, not a replacement. De Ercole himself said that the role of AI will be to enhance rather than replace the essence of the game.
But that essence is just inefficiency.
No, it's leadership. When a player is struggling on the pitch, hyperventilating after a massive mistake in front of 80,000 screaming fans, they don't look to a tablet for reassurance. They look to the touchline. They look to a human leader. The coach has to synthesize the AI's objective probabilities with the deeply subjective reality of managing 25 fragile human egos.
I completely reject the idea that managing egos should ever override objective data. That logic clings to a romanticized view of leadership that is, frankly, rapidly becoming obsolete in modern high-performance environments. Think about this logically.
I am.
If the tablet knows that a specific tactical switch increases your probability of winning by 12%, and the coach chooses to ignore it because they don't want to hurt a veteran player's ego, that coach is committing statistical malpractice. The AI is observing off-the-ball movement that the coach is physically incapable of seeing.
True, but
It is capturing how a player's sprint speed has degraded by 2% over the last 15 minutes. The human eye cannot detect a stride shortening by a centimeter. The machine can, and the machine instantly knows the optimal substitution to make to plug that physical leak. To allow a human to veto that decision based on feel or ego management is to willingly introduce error into a highly optimized system.
It's not introducing error, it's introducing vital context that the machine hasn't quantified yet. Yes, the machine might perfectly measure a 2% drop in sprint speed. It flags it as fatigue, but the human coach knows that that specific player is intentionally holding their position and dropping their pace specifically to bait an opposition fullback into overlapping.
Oh, come on.
No, it happens, thereby setting up a counterattack. The machine sees physical fatigue. The coach sees a psychological trap being set. This is why the Forecast 2026 study is so critical to this conversation. It reminds us that predictive models are phenomenal at crunching historical averages, but humans are uniquely capable of abstract reasoning and adapting to unprecedented, novel situations in real time.
But the AI is dynamically updating.
Not well enough for true chaos. When a match descends into absolute chaos, a sudden red card, a torrential downpour, a freak injury to a goalkeeper, the historical data becomes far less relevant. The variables are entirely new. That is exactly when you need the human capacity for abstract reasoning to navigate the storm.
It doesn't just blindly rely on historical averages from 3 years ago and ignore the present, though. It is processing the real-time skeletal tracking of the torrential downpour. It instantly recalculates the physics of the ball on wet grass, measures how the player's deceleration changes on the slippery surface, and dynamically adjusts the expected goals metric. It gives the manager 360-degree vision and a calculator that runs at the speed of light.
And yet, even with that 360-degree vision and lightning-fast calculation, the AI predictions lost accuracy as the World Cup tournament progressed in the Trinity College study. The real world is messy. The AI struggled to consistently beat the market baseline when the stakes were highest and the human variables were most volatile.
It still beat the humans, though.
But this underscores the reality of the dugout. AI is an extraordinary analytical tool, a tool that absolutely every club must adopt or face obsolescence. But the unpredictable, pressure-filled reality of human players ensures the traditional, intuitive head coach remains indispensable.
Well, as we wrap up this discussion, I maintain my stance that predictive analysis is doing far more than just providing a helpful tool for the manager. It is fundamentally revolutionizing live tactical decisions. It is actively turning the dugout from a place of emotional guesswork into a ruthlessly objective, data-driven environment where algorithms are already proving to operate as vastly superior assistant managers.
And I stand firm that while the technology provides unprecedented depth, measuring joint distances at 60 frames per second, and unearthing microscopic tactical patterns, the human essence of football cannot be engineered away. The chaos of the pitch and the immense psychological weight of the moment demand a human mind to make the final, crucial call.
What is undeniable, and where our perspectives clearly converge today, is that the baseline of tactical analysis has been permanently altered. We have moved entirely away from basic possession stats into a world of real-time probability calculations and complex algorithmic modeling.
Agreed.
Any club, from the elite tier to the emerging medium-sized teams that refuses to integrate these systems into their live decision-making will simply be left behind.
Absolutely. The integration of AI into live tactical adjustments, scouting, and workload management is no longer a luxury for the rich clubs. It is the fundamental cost of entry in modern football.
There is still so much more to explore here, particularly regarding how AI will integrate into sports far beyond football and how it will continue to challenge our understanding of human performance versus pure machine optimization.
It forces us to constantly reevaluate what parts of a sport are purely mathematical and what parts are stubbornly, beautifully human.
So the next time you see a manager standing in the pouring rain, screaming instructions onto the pitch in the 89th minute, you really have to wonder, is that the beautiful essence of football making the difference? Or are we just watching a very slow, very wet human bottleneck getting in the way of the math?